Hey, I'm Sue, this is Sue Scribes, and today I'm here to talk to you about why your reader is bored. We have so many distractions at the moment, like just so many things to pull you away from what you're reading, to pull your reader away from your book. It's so important to keep them glued every chapter, not just at the start, not just at the end, but the entire way through. So the first reason that your reader is bored is that you have not grabbed their attention. I was once told by an agent that every single chapter has to be on fire. And I wrote that on a post-it and I stuck it up on my wall until it was burned into my memory. And now I think about it all the time. Every chapter has to be on fire. So this doesn't just happen when you're writing. It's mostly for the edit actually, because when you're writing, I think you need to focus on enjoying the story, telling the story, finding out for yourself what the story is, who the characters are and where they're going. But once you get to the edit, this is really important. You have to take a look at every single chapter, every single scene. Ask yourself, is this pushing the story forward? Is there a purpose to this? Not just that it's telling you about the character. I think that's not quite enough. You can slip in info about the character all the way along. You cannot just have a scene that's sole focus is to tell you something about the character unless it's of utmost importance and that point about the character is going to drive the story. So as I said, this is mostly got to do with the edit. Sometimes you've written something and you were so enjoying writing it that you didn't kind of realize what was the purpose of it. So sometimes this draws itself out in the edit. Michelangelo said, every block of stone has a statue inside it and it is the task of the sculptor to discover it. When I first read that quote years ago, I thought he was just being modest, claiming that he wasn't to be credited for these amazing statues. He was just discovering them, he wasn't creating them. I think this all ties into the meaning of the word genius. The word genius comes from the Latin word geniere, which means to birth something, to bring it forth. The Romans believed that a genius was merely a kind of a vessel for like a greater spiritual gift. A lot of times with acting, it's when you totally lose yourself to the character that you get the best performance. It actually is a relief because you feel like there's something greater than you happening. You're just a part of it rather than being the cause of it. And I think with writing, it's the same. You tell the story and then in the edit, you uncover the gems within the story. You bring them to life, but they're already there. And I think that's also why an editor is a genius. They find what's good in a story, they pull it out, they clean it up. It's so similar to working on a chunk of marble and making a statue or unveiling a statue from a chunk of marble. As a writer, you need to ask yourself, what is the purpose of this scene? And then it will reveal itself. Another reason why your reader might be bored is that you're just taking too long to tell us about your character. I used to think that you introduce a character, you say, here's Amanda, she has blonde hair, she's 16, she's one of 6 kids. Obviously that's not very good writing. You know, I heard people say, oh, show don't tell, but I didn't kind of realize what that meant until I saw examples of it. And this has also got to do with the importance of reading. I remember one time when this concept really hit home was when it was only a few years ago when I was reading Louise O'Neill's book, Asking for It, which I highly recommend. It's such a great book. So one of the characters in this book, she comes from quite a wealthy, well-regarded family in the town. But instead of telling us that, Louise, the writer, she has us walking through the town on the way to a football match, and you see the guys playing for the local teams with the name of this girl's family pharmacy on their jerseys, which means that obviously this girl's family name is well known in the town. They have enough money to be putting their name on the jerseys to be sponsoring the local teams. It puts her family at a high status without like spelling it out for us. There's another one that I've heard quite a lot when it comes to writing scripts is, how do you show that someone is a chain smoker? You show them lighting the cigarette off the end of their last cigarette rather than telling the reader that they're a chain smoker. That kind of describes it. And in Cassandra Clare's The Mortal Instruments, in the first book, I noticed that she kind of spells this out for us a little bit. It's like she's giving us a lesson on how to show, not tell. She says, Luke isn't much of a cook. His spice racks are filled with packets of coffee and tea. She has done both there. She has told us and then shown us. I'm grateful for the lesson because otherwise I might not have actually noticed it. But she could have just said Luke's spice rack is filled with cartons of coffee rather than telling us as well. Another reason that your reader might be bored is that you haven't figured out your pacing and your timing. I think at the start, you can't really do too much info dumping even if you want to, because you will just lose your reader. They don't care enough about your character. Funnily enough, I actually thought you just cannot info dump at all. But then the more I started to read, especially fantasy, because there needs to be info dumps in fantasy, there just does, there's too much. But as I started to read these books, I actually realized that I did not mind info dumps if they were later in the book, if they were in the last third, say. I actually was happy enough to read an info dump because I was so invested in the characters and I was dying to know at that stage, you know? So I think it's about where you put them. It's about timing. The fourth reason that your reader is bored is that you haven't figured out your technique. Your technique is unappealing. This one is really, really easy to fix. It's about sentence length, paragraph length, even word length. Like if you have a sentence full of long words, the reader's gonna get a little bit nyeh. If you have 4 really long sentences, one after the other, the reader is gonna be like, ugh, I don't know what's going on. If you have like chunks and chunks of information in long paragraphs, they won't even read it. I think you need to be aware of spacing up your paragraphs and having different paragraph lengths. So you could have a chunky paragraph and then 1 word of a paragraph, or just 1 line of a paragraph. I think there needs to be variation in order to keep the eyes on the page, because otherwise it's just too much. The way I like to imagine it is that it's rhythm. Writing is art, it's creativity. You're creating art as much as a musician is. So you need to listen to the rhythm of what you're writing. Speak it out loud and feel the flow of it. I sometimes forget to do this and I have to remind myself to really listen to what I've written. Is it appealing to the ear? It's really, really important to see it as an art. It is an art. The 5th reason that your reader is bored is that you have too many characters and they're not serving a purpose. You need to really look at your characters and ask yourself, is this character important or can it actually be merged with another character? If they can be merged, merge them. If they can't be merged, but the character isn't really doing much, cut it. Kelly Sue DeConnick says something like, if you can replace your female character with a sexy lamp, then you're a dick. I feel that I have to be aware that I don't have male characters that can be replaced by a sexy lamp, because sometimes I'm guilty of that too. You need to do the sexy lamp test. Google it. Kelly Sue DeConnick's sexy lamp test. So the last reason why your reader might be bored is that your story is just not relatable or topical. To make it relatable, it just has to be what we perceive as a human experience. Even if your characters are fairies or demons or ghosts, so long as their experience is human. Because regardless of what your character is, your reader is human. People want to be moved. They spend a lot of time with the book. They spend hours with your book. You have to move them. You have to give them something they can relate to. So there you have it, 6 reasons why your reader might be bored. There might be more reasons, and maybe I don't have a clue anyway. Probably my readers are bored at this stage, I don't know. But I'm doing my best, and these are the things that I'm trying to keep in mind to make sure my story is keeping people hooked the entire way along. And let me know in the comments if there's anything you think could be added to this, or if there's anything that I'm wrong about, which is highly possible. And that's it from me. 6 reasons why your readers might be bored. And please subscribe to Subscribes. I never ask that actually. I mean, I say it in my little ident, but I never actually ask people to subscribe because I don't know, I'm just not very good at asking for things. If you don't, it's grand. Anyway, mwah.